Hello, my name is Mary Maisie, and through the use of this infographic, I will give you some information about homeschooling, technology in homeschooling, and the positive and negative effects of homeschooling. For right now, as you can see from the infographic, homeschooling has increased rapidly, as you can see from these numbers. Certain reasons have caused this effect and has caused homeschooling to grow so much. Some of these reasons include homeschooling causes a close family unit to be formed. It allows students with an IEP or a 504 disability to have a better education because with homeschooling, the parent is basically tutoring their child. And then it also allows the parents to become closely involved in their children's education and learning. So as you can see from these numbers, like I said before, it has increased very quickly. According to the National Home Education Research Institute, between 2007 and 2010, homeschooling has increased 7% in America. So that is a big percentage in only 3 years. In my opinion, I think that's a huge jump. And then again, the National Home Education Research Institute said that there are now 2.04 million homeschooled families in the United States, and this has increased 140% since the last turn of the century. Within those 2.04 million homeschooled families, 61% of the homeschooled families have 3 or more children, 77% of the homeschooled families are white, 81% of the homeschooled mothers do not work for pay, and 97.9% of homeschooled families have married parents. So the children are not raised in a one-parent household. There is that small percent, but most of the homeschooled families in that 2.4 million homeschooled students have married parents. So I think that's pretty nice to have. Personally, from my own experience, like my mom taught us at home, and then my father was we called him our principal. And so if our mom had any problems with us, we would have to go see the principal when he got home from work. And then later when I got into higher levels of math, my father would teach me the math lessons, and my mom would focus more on all the other subjects except math because he was able to relay the information better. Down here are the positive effects of technology use and the negative effects of technology use. This information was taken from a homeschooled parent that I found his blog. His name is Chris Bales. And then also from my own mother, Kathy Maisie, who has homeschooled my brother and I from 1st grade till 8th grade, and then myself from freshman and sophomore year. So some of the positive effects of technology use: online practice games for different subjects. So if my mother was working with my brother, I could get on and do some different practice problems online for math, or practice typing, or because we had a practice typing game online. So that was fun because that helped me produce my typing skills. And then there was also different things for English to help us do diagramming and things like that. Another positive effect, tests are graded quicker and sometimes instantly graded. So my mother said that when we started using the online grading system, it was a lot quicker because we would still have our curriculum at home, we did a lot of paper stuff, but then our tests, so my mom didn't have to grade them, we would take them online, and then we would send them to Seton Home Study Schools online through their Dropbox, and then the professors would have them graded within the next 1 or 2 days. Or if it was a math test and it was a bubble test, it just instantly graded within those first couple minutes of sending it in. So that was a lot more helpful because that gave my mom more time to spend with my brother, or at night spend with us as a family, or even get dinner ready quickly, or take us to our other activities that we had going on in the afternoon. So instead of working on papers all night and grading, she was able to spend more time with the family. Students learn internet safety. This is one section that Chris Bales mentioned. He said when he got his 2 kids computers, he realized he had to teach his kids about internet safety because he didn't want them getting on inappropriate sites. And he also wanted to teach them that if you're doing research, how to use Google Scholar or different websites that can help you find peer-reviewed articles instead of using websites like Wikipedia, which the information can change. So he had to teach them not only how to research, but then he had to teach them what internet sites to get on and which ones not to, and what to look up and what things you shouldn't be looking up on the computer. And then students learn to type. This is a big thing my mother talked about, but then this is also a thing that Chris Bales talked about too. And they both said that it really helped their kids learn how to type and helped us learn how to use Word, helped us learn how to use Google Docs, things like that, so that when we did get into high school, it personally helped me because I was able to type and I wasn't behind. So when we had to do group projects, I could just type away, and most of the time I would type everything and people just tell me what to type, because there's a lot of times there's even kids in my high school that couldn't type fast or did not know how to type yet. So that was really helpful for my experience. Now switching over to the negative effects of technology use in homeschooling. Possible exposure to inappropriate websites when a parent is not present. So this can be, my mom mentioned that, and neither my brother or I did anything like that, but it was one of those things where she did have to teach us internet safety, because you could be on your email and things just pop up, or you could just be scrolling through and pop-ups happen. It's not like we were specifically looking up anything, but there's a lot of stuff out now on social media and in movies and on the TV and now even on the computers that really expose kids at young age to things that I wasn't even exposed to when I was younger. So that's one thing that is bad when you have technology in your homeschooling, because if you're trying to protect your kids from that and then you type in something and a pop-up comes up, or if you type in something on YouTube and there's a ad about things that you don't want your kids knowing about, that can be a possible issue. The next section, the use of technology at a young age. So that kind of reflects back to the exposure. Again, my program, we didn't start using the online submission of tests until about 8th grade. So when I was younger, I really wasn't around technology that much. So I had a GameCube. Me and my brother played Nintendo. We watched TV. My dad did have us games on our the computer that we could play. So that was useful, but it was all safe stuff that we played and used. Or now, young kids are watching things on YouTube that they shouldn't be, even in the public schools. So things like that are just things you have to watch out for. Another reason, if only one computer present, then scheduling when to use the computer and when not to use it. So this was a problem for my brother and I for a long time. When the online testing for state and home study schools came out, we used it my 8th grade year, where my brother is 3 years younger than me, so he was getting to use it in his 5th grade year for math tests and stuff. And it was if I was at the point where I'm taking an English writing test or a history test and my brother needed it to take his math quiz, my mom had to start then planning out what he could be doing when I was taking my test, because at the time we only had one working computer. So that was kind of a downfall, because you really had to plan out around everyone's schedules, and if one of us got ahead and was ready to use the computer sooner, it really caused a hold in the day, because then it was if it was just a test day and we had a Friday where we had tests in 4 subjects, it really put everything behind, because we had to wait for my brother had to wait for me to finish, or I had to wait for my brother to finish. So that was one negative about it. But if you have more computers, that's fine. And then also possible cheating on tests. I know I never did. I don't think my brother ever did. But Chris brought it up too, and it was basically if the parent leaves the room and the kid's on the computer and they don't know the answer, they can openly just get a new tab and type in the question and maybe find the answer to the test. So that can be a problem, because even that you're home, you should sit down and take the test. You shouldn't open up a book. You shouldn't click on a tab. This is a test. So that was one thing that you always have to remind your homeschooling students, if you're a parent, that, like, just because you're at home, like, this is a test, you shouldn't be cheating and things like that, because it really won't help you in the long run. So thank you for listening to my screencast. I hope this gives you some type of an insight of homeschooling and the technology used, the positive and negatives. I enjoyed researching this topic and even making this infographic because, like, I was surprised by this number here, the 2.04 million homeschooled students and the 140% increase. I thought that was huge. So I really hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for listening.